Hey everybody, this is Rustin Rose with Metaholic Magazine and Access Entertainment, and with us today, Ryland Holland and Mike Portnoy of Next to None. How are you guys doing?
Good. Yeah, we're doing pretty well. How about you?
I'm doing wonderful. Sorry to steal you away from practicing, but I wanted to get a little insight on the band and the debut album, A Light in the Dark, coming out at the end of June. You guys have to be pretty excited. I know this has been building for a while.
Yeah, I can't wait. We've been working on this for years. I mean, we've had the band for like 5 years now, and we've been writing, but it's like finally last year we were able to record it in the studio, so it's finally going to be out June 30th, so we can't wait.
Nice. Now, and you guys just finished up a series of dates with Haken. How'd the mini tour go?
Yeah, it was really fun. Haken, they were all great guys, and they helped us out a lot. Actually, they turned out to be some of our mentors, too, so it was really great.
Fantastic. Now, you guys have been doing a lot of interviews this week. Does it sort of feel weird for you still, or are you starting to get the hang of it?
Well, I've had like, this is my fourth interview now, so I'm kind of used to it, but for Ryland, it's his first.
So,
oh, wow.
Are you used to it? It's really not too weird for me, but it's my first one.
I can't imagine being, a teenager and doing interviews with rock magazines and whatnot, but you sort of grew up in the lifestyle a little bit there. Max, for sure. Ryland by proximity, I guess. But, all right. Well, let's get sort of the typical question out of the way. Brand new band, obviously. At some point, I call it the Wikipedia question. At some point, there's going to be a Wikipedia page for you guys, and people are going to want to know some basic facts. So give us a little backstory on how the band came together.
All right, so me, Ryland, and Chris knew each other since first grade, and we've always played together just randomly. We never really made a permanent band, though, until like 6 years ago when we met Thomas Duche. And once we met him, we kind of made a permanent band, and we just wrote stuff and played shows, and then it kind of got more and more serious as we went along, and then we ended up writing this album, and it's like a mix between prog and metal, and basically any genre that interested us. We're just having a bunch of fun and basically just wrote whatever songs, whatever we were feeling, and then once we got to the studio, we recorded it, and it'll be out June 30th.
Well, and from what I've heard of the debut album so far, it's pretty impressive. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten to hear the whole thing yet, but there's significant growth just from when I first heard you guys do Fortune Cookie to now. Do you feel that you guys are evolving pretty quickly?
Yeah, we've changed a lot. We wanted to be like a rock band back when we wrote that, and we were like 12 years old when we wrote it, but we've been listening to everything since, like all these other bands like Dream Theater, Slipknot, and all that stuff. And we've kind of grown, and our taste in that music has kind of changed. So we're like writing more progressive metal stuff. And personally, I like it a lot better than what we had, and I'm sure a bunch of people will too.
Nice. Well, let's talk about the debut album. First off, the title, A Light in the Dark. Was there any significance behind the title, or did you just sort of think it sounded cool? Or
when I came up with it, Thomas has this concept, like 5-6 songs that go together.
Right.
So, and they were all lyrical, like stuff that he wrote and made them all connect. So after like I figured out, he told me what it was about and stuff. We were all just trying to think of album names, and that was one I just thought of, and it kind of went along with the concept pieces. And so I can't really explain too much about what the concept is because that's all Thomas's stuff, and I don't want to mess it up. And then because it's his thing, he goes along with it.
Well, and that's one of the questions I was going to ask you was, because that's pretty impressive on your debut album, and of course, especially being so young, having sort of this mini concept going on within this album. That takes a lot of work and effort to put all that stuff together, and that speaks volumes for where you guys are at already as musicians.
Yeah, I mean, Thomas mostly came up with the concepts while he was writing the lyrics to the songs because he does all the vocals. So he was writing it, and then mostly all the lyrics go together for those songs, but then we also have like a little bit of hints musically that are in each song that like kind of put them together, but it's mostly a vocal thing.
Right.
But it's his idea and everything, so I can't really speak for him.
That's fine. Well, tell us a little bit about the writing process in the band. I mean, do all four of you write? Do you guys bring stuff to the table individually, or is it just primarily one or two of you that write?
We all write a little bit, but it's mostly me and Thomas, but then we all write like our own stuff as well. Like Ryland will bring in some stuff. He does all of his solos and everything.
And yeah, also if you write something, like I know someone will write something and then the band will hash it apart. They'll make something completely different out of it. I know one of the songs I brought it in. It was like a slow kind of piece, but then Max will try this with it, and then it actually turned out to be like pretty heavy. So,
well, so what were the challenges for you guys in making the record?
For me, I mean, I really didn't find any challenges. It all kind of just came naturally for me because I guess it's just growing up with my dad and always being like with him, like when he's like recording with his bands and listening to the demos, it always just kind of like showed me kind of what to do and like in those sorts of scenarios. So for me, it's kind of natural.
For me, the hardest part was probably figuring out what I wanted to write, like especially for guitar solos, since there's so many like influences there. Like it kept being on a daily basis pretty much. So as I progressed, my playing also progressed.
Right. Did you find that happening even as you were recording the album? It was like, this sounded good when I first did it, but now I want to change it to this because I'm progressing, as I go here.
Yeah. A year ago when I recorded it, I thought all my stuff was awesome, and now I listen back and like, oh man, I could have done this better. Man, what if I tried this when I recorded it? But
yeah, for me, I don't really hear anything that we recorded and think that it was bad or like I didn't like it, but it's always stuff that like I could have like made it even more technical or like sound better. Like I'm always hearing like where I should have like changed the kick pattern to make it like sound a little bit better and like do some different kind of fills to make them a little bit more complicated. So I always like miss out on that, but I don't think anything has like disappointed me. I love everything that we've done.
Yeah, I think your father would probably tell you this is like, it doesn't matter how many albums you record, you'll still go back and listen to the ones you just did a year or so ago and go, man, I should have done this, or I could have done this here. That's just the nature of being a musician, I think. So, but,
yeah, he told me that like the second I like got out like the week later, I was just like, dang it, I should have done this kick drum pattern or this fill, and it'll be like, to this day, I still listen back to my old albums, and he still says that like, there's stuff he wish he should have done, or like riffs he should have added, or sections or stuff. But he told me that it's just something I need to get used to, and I guess I will over time.
Yeah. So now, of course, Mike produced the album. Obviously, this is right in his wheelhouse, especially the progressive elements of it. Despite the relational connection, did you feel like you guys had to live up to anything in making this record, or did the familiarity with having Mike as the producer make it flow more smoothly for you guys?
I think since we already knew Mike, it flew pretty smoothly. Like when we think about Mike, I think of him as a father of one of my best friends. I don't really think of him as one of the best drummers in the world.
Right.
I think that kind of like helps relax us too. Like it was a pretty fun environment with him around.
For me, whenever someone will ask me like, "What's it like having Mike Portnoy as your dad? He's like the best drummer in the world," and I'll be like, "I don't see him as that. He's just my dad, so I don't find it like that weird or like out of like." Uncomfortable,
right?
So because he's just dead, so it's just normal for me.
What was the toughest song on the album to get just right?
Our most technical song, and I guess our proggiest song, is "Control," and it was easily the hardest one to write and perform since there's so many different time changes and feel changes, and it took us all like a while to perfect it, but it's almost like super easy for us now that we've practiced it so many times for like years. So it's getting easy for us, but it's still the most difficult song on the album.
You guys have been out doing some of these shows already. How much of the album are you getting a chance to play live so far?
We play our whole album live a couple times now. Sometimes we get to cut out a couple songs to match the set times that we have, but we try to fit as many originals as we can.
When we were on the Haken tour like last week, we got to play most of our album. Of course, we only had 45-minute sets, so we had to cut out some songs, but for anyone that went out to see the Haken shows, they saw basically what our album was. They're just missing out on like a few songs, but that was like our biggest chance to play out and almost like preview our album.
Right. Now, you guys obviously have already released the first single off of it, You Or Not Me. I got to tell you, when I first heard it, I was surprised at the use of harsh vocals and impressed with how well Thomas transitions between the two. Do you guys have a second song you're planning on releasing before the album comes out?
Right now, we're not sure if we're going to release one before the album comes out, but if we do, I personally, I know what I have in mind that we should release, but it all depends on what the label thinks and everything, what the whole band thinks, but I don't think we're releasing any other songs, but if we do, I'm pretty sure we know which one we're going to release.
Tell us a little bit about You Are Not Me, because there's a nice mix of different things going on there, sort of a genre-splitting thing, because there's the progression, there's sort of the screamo elements sort of stuff going on.
Well, that was one of the last songs we wrote before we went to the studio, and it's easily our heaviest song right now, and that's why I love it so much, because I was listening to like a bunch of Slipknot while we were writing it, but I also wanted to keep the prog element to it, so I had all different time signature changes and everything. So it's like the perfect combination of like prog and metal. It's like Dream Theater and Slipknot mixed together in one song. That's how I look at it.
Now, of course, you guys had a couple of nice guests on the album. Bumblefoot was on there. Neil Morse, a legend in his own right. What was it like having those guys? Can you tell us a little bit about that whole experience and how they played into the record?
Well, it was completely unexpected how well they did. There was a part in A Lonely Walk where originally there wasn't going to be a guitar solo. And then they're like, oh, hey, what if we got Bumblefoot to play a guitar solo here? So then we emailed him, and then we sent him the song, and then he emailed back a version of the solo, and we just embedded that into the song, and it sounds great.
In helping us to get to know you guys, aside from Mike, obviously, who are some of your influences that have impacted you?
The biggest one for me coming up was John Petrucci from Dream Theater. And then recently, in the past couple of months, I've been looking a lot at Cosmo Bossi from Animals as Leaders.
Oh, nice.
For me, I mean, growing up and watching my dad play shows and everything, that's obviously my biggest influence.
Right.
And his drumming is just amazing, too. So I've really, I think my biggest influence is my dad, but I also listen to other drummers like Joey Jordison and Chris Adler. And I still listen to all their stuff, and it's just, that style of drumming is my favorite, and they've influenced me because I've been growing up listening to their drumming along with my dad. So I kind of combined the three of their styles into what I use as mine.
So, well, let me ask you guys this. Give us from each of you, 3 albums, 3 records that sort of informed your musical path, if you would, because yours is sort of evolving even as we're talking now, and over the last few months even, the evolution of who you guys are as musicians is changing.
So for me, I mean, basically from those 3 drummers, each of their bands, I've had an album that influenced me. For Slipknot, I can't really pick one or the other, but mostly they're either their self-titled album or Volume 3. And those ones really I've been listening to, and those were what I was listening to a lot while I was writing the album. But then also Sacrament by Lamb of God, that's one of my favorites too.
Nice.
And Systematic Chaos by Dream Theater, those would be my favorites right now, my favorite albums, what influenced me.
What about you, Ryland?
Well, it's really hard to choose your favorite album. I'd say for me, for Dream Theater, one that I like to play a lot, or try to play, is A Nightmare to Remember, that album. It's really hard to pick other albums.
That's okay, as you grow and define yourself, there you'll find there will be albums that will appear that will just sort of take you in a new direction. I didn't know how many of those you had maybe yet so far. So with the album 45 days away from release, what's next on tap for you guys in terms of getting out and playing live?
Right now we're just playing local shows, but we're trying to book a tour for the summer where we can just promote the album. Since it's not out yet, we don't really have any plans currently, but once the album's out, I'm sure we'll be touring constantly over the summer while school's out, and we'll just try and promote it as much as possible.
Gotcha. So, last question, just for fun. When you guys are not doing school, obviously, or playing music, what else are you guys into?
I basically just sit at my computer and play video games. Yeah, that's basically all I do. And if I'm not playing any games like Grand Theft Auto or League of Legends, I'm just playing drums, so I don't really do anything else.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for taking the time. I'm really looking forward to hearing the album. It's really exciting what you guys are doing, and I appreciate you guys giving us a little insight into it.
Thank you so much for having us on.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Take care, guys.